Good evening, everyone. I call this regular council meeting to order at 7 p.m. on October 7th, 2024, and gratefully acknowledge that we meet here today on the unceded and traditional territory of Chehalis. Before we move on, I certainly would like to take this opportunity to say that it has been a pleasure and an honor to serve as your deputy mayor over the last several weeks. Thank you to my fellow councilors and residents for your support. And thank you to our previous members of council for their service to our community. Before we begin our meeting this evening, the newly elected members of council will be sworn in. I would now like to invite Councillor-elect Mark Schweinbentz to come forward to swear his oath of office with our corporate officer.
Thank you. I, Mark Schweinbentz, do solemnly affirm that I'm qualified to hold the office of Councillor of the Village of Harrison Hot Springs, to which I've been elected. I have complied with the provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to my election to this office. I will abide by all rules related to the conflicts of interest under the community charter. I will carry out my duties with integrity. I will be accountable for the decisions that I make and for the actions that I take, and in the course of my duties. I will be respectful of others. I will demonstrate leadership and collaboration, and I will perform the duties of my office in accordance with the law. Thank you.
So this is sworn by the above named councillor before me at Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia, the 7th day of October 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Schweinbentz, and I invite you now to take your seat at the council table. I would now like to invite Mayor-elect Fred Talon to come forward and swear his oath of office with our corporate officer.
I, Fred Talon, do solemnly affirm that I am qualified to hold the office of mayor for the village of Harrison Hot Springs, to which I have been elected. I have complied with the provisions of the Local Government Act in relation to my election to this office. I will abide by all the rules related to conflicts of interest under the community charter. I will carry out my duties with integrity. I will be accountable for the decisions that I make and the actions that I take in the course of my duties. I will be respectful of others. I will demonstrate leadership and collaboration. I will perform the duties of my office in accordance with the law.
Sworn by the above named mayor before me at Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia, the 7th day of October 2024.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I invite you now to be seated at the head of the council table, and I will now turn the meeting over to be chaired by His Worship, Mayor Talon.
Just before we begin the meeting, I'd just like to thank Councillor Bedell. And before we continue the meeting, I'd like to take a moment to state that I'm honored to be mayor and grateful to the people of Harrison Hot Springs for placing your trust in me to be mayor. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the support of and encouragement of my family, and in particular, my wife. I also want to acknowledge Mr. Ed Wood and Mr. John Allen's time at our village council, and their work on the village's behalf in that capacity. I would also like to acknowledge the work of Councillors Vidal, Jackson, and Fascio, who kept the work of council moving forward during this recent by-election period. I've had several introductory meetings with the village's senior staff and would like to note publicly that I've been impressed with their professionalism and commitment to Harrison Hot Springs. So with that, I'm looking forward to working with Councillors Schweinbenz, Jackson, Fascio, and Vidal in considering matters before council and making decisions in the best interests of Harrison Hot Springs now and for the future. So with that, we should probably get to work. Corporate officer, next item.
The next item of business is introduction of late items.
Seeing no additions of late items, next item, corporate officer.
The next item of business is approval of the agenda.
So moved, Mayor Talon.
Seconded.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? Call the vote, all in favor? Motion carried. Next item, corporate officer.
The next order of business is adoption of council minutes. The first recommendation is that the special pre-closed council meeting minutes of September 4, 2024 be adopted.
So moved, Mayor Talon.
Moved by Councillor Vidal, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Discussion? No discussion, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Motion carries. Next item, corporate officer.
The next item is that the regular council meeting minutes dated September 9, 2024 be adopted.
Moved by Councillor Vidal,
Seconded.
seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All in favor, its motion is carried. Next item, corporate officer.
The next item is that the special pre-closed council meeting minutes of September 13, 2024 be adopted.
So moved, Mayor Talon.
Moved by Councillor Fascio and seconded by Councillor Vidal. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Motion carries. Next item of business, corporate officer.
Thank you. If I could just, if you're not speaking, if you could turn your mic off just to reduce feedback, sorry, just as to help with the sound. Thank you. That's great. Thanks. The next item is business arising from the minutes.
Does anyone have any business to bring forward that arises from the minutes? Seeing none, next item, corporate officer.
Moving on to the consent agenda, and I'll ask for a motion for receipt, please.
Moved by Councillor Jackson and seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion, Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I'd like to remove that from the consent agenda and put it under the business arising from the agenda, consent agenda. I'll move that.
Corporate officer.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Fascio. Which item in the consent agenda were you looking at?
Page 15, the City of Merritt.
The City of Merritt. Okay, so the motion is to remove item 6, 4A to and move it under correspondence as item C.
Yes, please.
Moved by Counselor Fascio, seconded by Counselor Vidal. Any discussion? I'll call the vote on the motion. All in favor? All in favor. Motion carries. Corporate Officer.
Thank you. So there's a motion for receipt as amended for the consent agenda that was moved by Counselor Jackson, seconded by Counselor Schweinbenz. To vote.
Any discussion on the amended motion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion? Unanimous carries, motion carries. Next item of business, Corporate Officer.
There's no delegations or petitions this evening, so we're moving on to correspondence, and I will get a motion for receipt, please.
Counselor Jackson moves receipt of correspondence, seconded by Counselor Vidal. Any discussion?
Yes, these two letters are in opposition to decisions that I think have already been made. But they do raise some potential concerns about the beach. And I just wanted to confirm with staff, some of the concerns that they had here was that they weren't notified, that they weren't aware of these decisions, that they didn't have the detailed information that was required. Can I ask corporate officer, through Mayor Tallon to the corporate officer, was there substantial details given, and was there enough notice given? Or is there a legitimate claim here of negligence by the village?
Would someone from the administration, corporate officer, or
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Through you to Counselor Schweinbenz. There is no requirement for the village to engage stakeholders with respect to this application. At this stage, the application is for a commercial license of occupation, and it's sitting with the province waiting to be processed. It should be noted that it's very early on in the process. The province does not have the resources or capability to contact every upland landowner who may or may not have an interest in the application. However, the public is encouraged to monitor the province's Crown Land applications, comments, and reasons for decisions webpage. This webpage directs users to a map that shows active applications. Right now, this application is not showing on the map as it's so early on in the process, but once it is there, you'll be able to click on it and see the comment period when the comment period is open for feedback. And anyone who believes they have an interest in this application is welcome to submit feedback directly to the province. And there's no estimated timeline at this point, but it should be noted that there is a significant backlog at the ministry. And it's expected that it will take some time before that application is put online.
Did we give ample advance notice, though, that we were considering this application?
corporate officer, are you able to answer that question?
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz. There was no requirement for notice. This had actually appeared on an agenda, I think, over almost a year ago, initially with the initial application that was put through. So this has been before council at multiple stages. There was input received. There was also a committee of the whole. So I think there were approximately 3 or 4 meetings where this went before council. Again, there was no statutory requirement for notice beyond the agenda package.
Councillor Schweinbenz, any?
Thank you,
Final
Mayor
follow-up?
Tallon. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm fully supportive of businesses that are bringing high value tourists to the waterfront. I'm supportive of the application. I don't know the details and discussion that was taking place. I just want to make sure that these concerns, I just want to see if their concerns are based on merit. Did we have enough notification? And I think you've answered that question. I'm supportive of it, but I do think going into the future, I just want to make sure that people in the community have belief that we have an open system of government, that there's transparency, and I'm not sure how these people may have missed that, but perhaps it's incumbent upon us as a community to make sure that we're keeping track of what's going on in council a little bit better. Thank you.
Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Through you to our corporate officer, I think I know the answer to this one, but more for the gallery and people who may be attending via Zoom. I believe the ultimate decision does rest with the province, and the proponent has put forward an application for a new tenure. And I understand from, if my memory serves me right, is that it's really not normal for local government to become involved at this stage. Normally, that is done once the application is received with the province, and they're in the process of investigating that. Is that correct?
Corporate Officer.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Vital. Yes, that is correct. It's very early on in the process, and I would expect that we, as the municipality, would receive a referral from the province once they have assessed the application.
Thank you, corporate officer.
Councillor Pachu.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. I believe the process, like the corporate officer just mentioned, did start a year ago. And I believe there's at least three, the last one being the committee of the whole, where there was a strong presence of the public and the delegation from the water sports. So the notices for notification of the meetings were put out to the public as specified, so everybody knows that there's a meeting for whatever case it may be, that the meeting's on a certain date, and if and then there are questions from the public as well, which were asked at the last committee and the whole in regards to the to this proposal. So the actual notifications for the public were put out just like a regular council meeting or a committee of the whole, or like one of the committees one of us will be chairing pretty soon. So it's a very transparent process that the public are aware. Nowadays, as you know, we have our village website, which is kept very much up to date, and other forms of communication. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, if I could just add, thanks for the clarification. I wasn't sure of the process. I do remember seeing the video with the delegation standing here, and they gave a very detailed presentation that I thought was excellent, and it's the kind of tourism activities that I'd like to see more of and support of. I'd like to see obviously the footprint that on the beach as minimized as possible, and the concerns of these folks mitigated. But it sounds like we did our due diligence, and the due process was followed. So thanks for the clarification.
Further questions or discussion on the correspondence? Seeing none, next order of business, Corporate Officer.
Before we proceed, there's a motion on the floor just for receipt. It was moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Vital.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries unanimously. I think now we're ready for the next business.
Thank you. Yes, the next item is business arising from correspondence.
Does anyone have any business arising from the correspondence to bring forward? Councillor Pachu.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Just bring forward the page 15 from the from Merit in regards to the highlighting the problem they're having with delinquent taxes over the on behalf of the City of Merritt Council. I'm writing on to highlight the impact of the community charter allowance for taxpayers to become delinquent on their property taxes over a period of three years. I'm not sure if that really affects us too much, but I think we should at least send a letter of support to the city of township of Merritt and Mayor Michael Goetz. I'll make a motion to that. Thank you.
So just to be clear, the motion is to send a letter
Of support.
of support to the city of Merritt, town of Merritt, and seconded by Councillor Vital.
Question?
Discussion, yes, Councillor Schweinman.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through to staff, perhaps, I'm curious, what is our burden on delinquent taxes? Merritt is talking about 8% delinquency, over almost $900,000. What is our level of delinquency? Do we know that?
Chief Financial Officer, could you answer that, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz. We do definitely have the same types of issues that Merritt and the other municipalities are facing. Of course, we have delinquent taxes owing and arrears taxes owing, and arrears is basically 2 years owing. Delinquent is 3 years. However, it's not to the point where it is affecting our operational cash flows. So it's not a concern that way, but where we're finding the concern is that it's an incredible amount of staff hours that are required to collect these delinquent taxes and the associated costs with that. So I agree, we would definitely be in support of some clear regulations and some more assistance from the province.
Thank you. Councillor Vital?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I am very much in support of this motion, and the next Lower Mainland LGA conference will be held here in Harrison next May. And I put it forward that perhaps our council should look at submitting a resolution at that conference. The process will then be, if that is endorsed by the membership, then it will move to UBCM next fall. If it's successful there, then UBCM will lobby the provincial government. In the meantime, certainly a letter of support to Merritt, I think, is a good thing, and I certainly support that. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this? I do think it's a good idea as well to offer support to the city of Merritt on what seems to be a method of deferring taxes, and be nice to get the province's attention on that. I'd like any further discussion on the motion to send a letter. Seeing none, I'd like to call a vote on the question of sending a letter. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer.
The next order of business is reports of councillors, committees, committee of the whole, and commissions.
Is there reports from any of the councillors this evening? I see many hands. I will start with our newest councillor, Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I wanted to say a few words, if I could. Anybody hear me okay? I'm not sure if I have to crouch down. Anybody hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll just sit. Wanted to do this standing. Mr. Mayor, through you to council and to staff, members of audience, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to articulate properly and fully the honor and privilege and gratitude that I feel for being here today. I'm humbled to be here. If my math is correct, there's about 49 years of council experience between the three members here. So it's a great privilege to be here, and I'm looking forward to 2 years of learning from you, debating with you, collaborating and having, and being a team member with you. So it's a great honor, and I mean that sincerely, to be with the three of you. I appreciate that. Over the next 2 years, I'm hoping to leave a bit of a mark in Harrison. And you, some of you may be wanting to leave a lasting legacy. And hopefully together we can do that, be a team and move forward. Since we're only halfway through this council term, which is normally 4 years, I also wanted to acknowledge the previous people who have been involved in council. Former councillor, Mr. Allen, Mr. Buckley, and former Mayor Wood. Thank you for your service. You're passionate people, and I know you did the best to your abilities, and thank you for your time. This week, I've been able to do some onboarding. I've met with the staff. We are so very lucky to have the staff that we have. They're also young and professional, and we're in great hands going forward. We're going to be asking them to be creative and innovative in the future, and they've got that potential. I've also been able to meet some of the operations folks, not all of them. I think there's about 13 full and part-time staff that keep the lights on and the drains draining and the roads cleared. And I'm looking forward to meeting all of them, but thank you, and we're grateful to be able to work with them. And also previously I had met with the fire hall volunteers, and you know, it's amazing that they keep us safe and secure. They do a great service to our community. If I could take a minute to divulge too what I've learned about Harrison over this campaign and through meeting hundreds of people over the last few weeks. And that is, number one, Harrison's full of talented and passionate people. People who are passionate about their quality of life and enjoyment of life. They want to see this improve. They want areas to gather and socialize and play cards and dance. And they're looking forward to long-term plans to improve this place. They want to be involved in these long-term plans. I always thought, you know, when I started this campaign, people said, you've got to be careful because most people want this place to stay small and sleepy, and they want to restrict tourism and constrain business. But I found the opposite's the truth. People want to be proud of this place. Everybody's got children and grandchildren, family, friends that come from far and wide, and we want to be proud of our amenities, of our tourism facilities, of our hotels and our restaurants. People that I talk to, they want to support a thriving business community. They want to see a major resort that invests in its people and invests in itself, something that we can all be proud of. They see so much potential in the watershed that we live in, whether it be ecotourism or adventure biking or trekking or luxury camping. This place is the axis around which so many spokes of opportunity can be. And people want to see that. And perhaps they want a bit of a rebranding and a revitalization of things. I think people commented that they want a little bit more Whistler, a little bit more Fort Langley, a little bit more District 82, and maybe, you know, rebranding of what we have. I also learned that people want the environment protected. They want the village's environment improved, more trees, more trails, more pedestrian-focused walkways from the heart of our village to West Lillooet and the mall and the waterfront. They want a healthier river, and they also want us to partner with senior levels of government, surrounding communities, First Nations, to protect the surrounding watershed and environment that we have. And lastly, they want us to all work together, and this is why I'm really looking forward to this team. We have once in a generation opportunities before us in the next couple of years to change the face of this village, and we've got the team to be able to do this. They want us to be imaginative and innovative in seizing our opportunities and solving our problems. They want us to think big and be bold. This is going to take time. It's going to take 5, 10, 15 years to see some of these visions seen through, but I know that if we can do this together. And a word to the great citizens of Harrison Hot Springs, both full-time and part-time, please get involved. The policies that come out of this room, out of this council, are only going to be as good as the input that we get from the community and the sum of our community. We need you. There's probably a dozen advisory boards and committees that you can get involved in and social groups. We need you and your ideas. So let us move forward with growing confidence and a new optimism. Let us build bridges across all divides. Let's become a community of ideas, a community of possibilities. And I'll end here. Let's become the best village in BC. Let's be the kind of village that looks after ourselves and looks after each other, and the kind of village that looks after this place. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swinevans. Councillor Jackson, I believe you have a report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I got a short one. Of course, I attended UBCM for those 4 or 5 days. When late Friday came, I'll tell you, I was really happy to get home. It's a grueling. We met with many ministers. They were all very receptive. One of the real beauties of going there, the fact is you meet other mayors and other councillors, and you exchange ideas, and you find out what's going on in their communities, and we really all have the same problems. So you can look forward to the next one in Victoria. I attended the Fraser Valley Regional Library Board meeting. I can assure you that the library is doing very, very well. About 40% of the books now are digital, and that is rising. It causes concerns because the digital format is much more expensive than the book format. They are looking to expand perhaps and new libraries open up sometime in the future, but financially the library system is in good shape and moving forward. I also attended Tourism Harrison. They are in the process right now of doing a lot of events coming up. There'll be great events in the summer. There's going to be a workshop coming up in November. Of course, there'll be the big Christmas time and all that. They're in good shape financially also. And in the future, I will be able to let you know about more of what's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Vital, I think you had a report as well.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. As much as I appreciate Councillor Jackson's brief report, please indulge me. Mine will be a little bit longer tonight. September 11th, I attended the Letsamot Community to Community Forum. There was a delegation and a presentation by the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, who did provide an update on the draft communications plan should there be a major incident on Highway 1 requiring traffic diversion over the Agassiz Bridge and through Agassiz via Highway 7. Our village concern is the potential delays at the corner of Highway 7 and 9, which would impede the ability for traffic in and out of Harrison. A final draft for review should be available later this fall. My report to the Letsamot Community Forum included an update on our future master plans and an invitation to our community open house on October 24th. On September 14th, I had the pleasure of bringing greetings on behalf of Harrison at the opening ceremonies of the Agassiz Fall Fair. September 15th, I attended the second annual Terry Fox Run Walk here in Harrison. I want to extend a heartfelt and sincere thank you to our dedicated organizing committee, volunteers, and participants who joined us. I'm thrilled to announce that over $11,125 was donated. A final tally has not yet been submitted to the Terry Fox Foundation, and I will update everyone when a final count is available. And Mayor Tallon, not to brag, but I do want to point out that Harrison even exceeded the City of Mission's total donations. September 16th to 20th, I also attended the annual UBCM convention in Vancouver. It was a very full and productive 5 days with your council and my responsibilities as first vice president of the Lower Mainland Local Government Association. September 16th, I attended the all-day provincial community to community forum at UBCM, which was sponsored by UBCM and the First Nations Leadership Council. Panel discussions emphasized the need to recognize the differences and acknowledge the harms following the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Good relations with First Nations includes good work with city councils, such as establishing community-to-community agreements, such as mutual aid with neighboring First Nations. One panel included members of the City of Vancouver UNDRIP Task Force, which have created a 5-year action plan towards reconciliation. Throughout this whole day-long forum, it was constantly emphasized that really at the end of the day, we are all just neighbors. September 17th, I attended the Small Talk Forum for Communities under a population of 5,000. Highlights included a local government internship program with funding available through Local Government Management Association. Commenting on Councillor Schweinbent's comment, marketing your community was a presentation from the village of Ashcroft. There was also a panel presentation from the city of Rossland on a housing project in cooperation with BC Housing. BC Housing manages the rental units and Municipal Hall is located on the ground level. This is something that your council has been looking into. September 20th, I attended the Resort Communities Collaborative. This group represents the 14 resort communities in BC who advocate the province for issues which impact these communities. The advocacy group met with the Minister of Tourism, Culture, Sports, and Arts earlier in the week to emphasize and stress the deficits in needed infrastructure to accommodate our recovering tourism. Also discussed was the need for sustainable funding streams. The minister advised the province recognizes these challenges and is working towards a solution. September 19th, I attended an executive board meeting of the Lower Mainland Local Government Association. And I briefly just wanted to mention the minister meetings I attended with your council. The Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. 3 issues were raised, including the needed upgrades or replacement of the Agassiz Bridge and a request to reroute trucks to utilize Highway 1 at Hope rather than Highway 7 to reduce bridge traffic. The need for warning signs and additional speed limit signs on the southern approach to Rockwell Drive and the southern part of the rock bluff be removed. The road straightened and to repair lakeside erosion to create a larger shoulder. Council also requested sidewalk upgrades be included in the drainage project along Hot Springs Road, and the ministry provide assistance in constructing a boulevard on Lillooet Avenue and incorporating bike lanes and multi-use trails on one side. The Minister of Housing. Smaller communities have limited funds to cover the costs associated with upgrading infrastructure to accommodate the recent housing regulations under Bill 44 and the small-scale multi-unit housing policy. Our request was for the province to develop additional funding opportunities for small communities. Council also requested the province implement a funding stream to encourage more rental units and to grant local governments the ability to request rental units before entering into a housing agreement on a case-by-case basis. Limited parking is a huge concern here in the village and creates a barrier to the increased density requirements enacted by the province. Council requested an update on this requirement and whether any policy will be forthcoming. The Minister of Municipal Affairs. 4 issues and requests were raised by your council. 1, the ministry must consider stronger legislation for elected officials to promote good governance, including updates to the community charter to mandate all jurisdictions adopt a code of conduct. The ministry establish a provincial ethics commissioner who would be responsible for investigating allegations of misconduct by elected officials and recommend possible actions to be taken to rectify the issue. Request that the community charter be updated to clarify the circumstances or specific types of conduct that can result in expulsion of a member from a council meeting in order to reduce ambiguity, as the current language only uses the phrase acting improperly, which is vague and subjective. Number 4, that the minister consider amending current legislation to provide more authority to the Minister of Municipal Affairs to allow the province to intervene and respond to requests for assistance from local governments during times of severe discourse and incivility. We met with the Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness. Continued advocacy for the construction of the second evacuation route and the need for an expedited Sasquatch Park boundary adjustment. A request for additional funding streams to assist local governments in fuel maintenance and mitigation practices, especially as it relates to Crown lands, such as our East Sector lands. The Emergency and Disaster Management Act sets out the criteria for declaring a state of local emergency. Your council requested assistance in expanding and providing further clarification of the criteria for creating and declaring a state of local emergency through either a policy or a regulation document. Minister meetings I attended with executive of the Lower Mainland Local Government Association, Minister of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Emissions. The executive requested funding streams to offset the costs of retrofitting older buildings to enhance low carbon emissions. Minister of Housing, I request that the province provide flexibility in funding when smaller communities are encouraging affordable housing developments. With new housing regulations increasing density, these communities cannot shoulder the burden of increased infrastructure needs. The minister advised negotiations are ongoing with the federal government for joint increased funding. Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, a discussion on the need for a new and sustainable funding model for the current gas tax. Gas tax will continue to decline with the increase in EV purchases. EVs share the roads with fuel vehicles, but do not contribute to gas tax revenues. Minister of Agriculture and Food, discussion on inappropriate use of agricultural land. Purchases of agricultural land for the use of large events is causing considerable stress on neighboring farms and their livestock. The ALR suggests a working group be formed with them to discuss best practices and find a workable solution. Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness. The increased frequency and severity of climate-related events have resulted in a steady rise in applications for financial assistance. The timing of decisions on claims is excessive. Request that the province take urgent steps to assist victims of climate events with claims in a timely manner, not exceeding 12 months post-disaster. Flood protection and mitigation infrastructure is essential for protecting residents. Constructing new or improving current dikes is now becoming cost prohibitive, and local governments, regional districts, and improvement districts can no longer afford it. A request that the province commit to allocate adequate funds and consider assuming control of and responsibility for flood protection and mitigation infrastructure, including diking and pump stations. The convention resolutions. I'm very pleased to announce that your council's resolution to request the province increase the number of mobile breast screening units to rural and remote areas and to ensure all women have access, regardless if they have a family doctor, was endorsed by convention delegates. I want to take also the time to say thank you to council. I was the one that put this resolution forward. And it was with the support of our council that we were able to move it forward. UBSAM will now advocate with the province to pressure a successful outcome. Your CAO and I also had the opportunity to meet with staff, members of the BC Public Health Authority, where we had the opportunity for additional advocacy. We were well received, and BC Public Health Authority recognizes this gap and are taking steps to rectify, as it appears at this point to be a staffing issue. That's the end of UBCM. On September 4th, I attended the Community Futures North Fraser board meeting and provided an update on our village's events during the summer. September 30th, I participated in the Stayless Walk on the Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I was humbled to hear the disturbing stories from elders on their experiences at residential schools. This day honors the children who never came home and the tragic and painful history and impacts of residential schools. We all must commit to creating ongoing dialogue between our communities and create that space where true collaboration, partnership, and reconciliation can happen. On October 2nd, I attended the Citizens Advisory Committee at the Mountain Institution. And finally, on October 6th, on behalf of your council, I attended the opening of the new Regional Fire Training Center at the Agassiz Fire Hall and the traditional push-in ceremony for their new fire apparatus. This training facility will be utilized by many fire departments, including our own. This is a great addition and will certainly assist in having fire department members trained to higher levels to protect each and every one of us. Thank you, Mayor Tallon. That's my report.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Councillor Vital. Councillor Fascio?
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Ditto. The conference this year was called Ride the Wave, and I can be very proud of my colleagues and our staff who were there, CAO and our financial officer, that I think we rode the wave. There were many, many sessions and meetings to attend, a lot of conversation from other communities, mostly, as we all hear on the news nowadays, regarding infrastructure. We like to boast to a lot of communities that with past councils over the years, we've managed to look to the future in Harrison Hot Springs as far as our wastewater treatment plant, water plant, and reservoir is concerned. As of the news you may have seen this evening in Hudson Hope, they're trying to look at putting a water plant in. They don't have one there. They're running out of water. So Harrison is in a good position as far as infrastructure is concerned. The meeting with the ministers last year and this year, we've been very lucky to have meetings with a total of 10 ministers and municipal staff. And we covered a lot of areas which Councillor Vital has already spoken about. But I will mention that with the housing minister, we did get some information regarding Build BC in regards to some ideas we're putting forward in regards to building some units with the with the recreation officers and possibly a primary care as well. So we've got some good information from that. And from the other ministries, we've got more funding sources to apply for funding. So the our manager of community services, Christy Evans, I'm sure, has got a pen ready to start applying for this funding sources. But overall, a great conference, very busy, like Councillor Jackson mentioned. We look forward to next year in Victoria and keep moving forward with applications and resolutions for our community. And once again, I would like to thank Councillor Vidal for bringing forward the resolution that had a overall vote at the UBCM with some 2,000 delegates there for the breast screening. A wonderful resolution, and I thank her very much. And thank you again, Mayor Tallon.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Corporate Officer, next item of business, please.
The next order of business is reports from Mayor.
I have a very short report, having been mayor for minutes. But as mayor-elect on September 30th, I joined the Stehalis in a walk from the Eco Lodge on the river to the Sandpiper Golf Club to mark the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. This gave me an opportunity to listen to speakers who spoke about the great harm caused by residential schools, both at that time and the harm that continues today as a result of residential schooling. As a non-Indigenous Canadian, what I heard was both challenging and sad. However, this day, I think, gives an opportunity for Canadians to learn and understand and give hope that as a society, we can collectively learn from this and realize a better future. Next order of business, Corporate Officer.
Moving on to reports from staff. The first item is the report of the Chief Election Officer regarding the 2024 by-election results.
Move the recommendation, Mayor Tallon.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next item of business, Corporate Officer.
The next item of business is item B, report of corporate officer regarding council liaison and committee appointments. So read the report. I'll draw your attention to page 29. Attached to this report is a list of the council liaisons, municipal director, board and committee member appointments required to fill vacancies created by the 2024 by-election. Before we proceed to the recommendation, you'll notice the first two recommendations there are blank. In order to facilitate a discussion about who might be interested in serving as the council liaison for Agassiz Harrison Healthy Communities and Agassiz Harrison Historical Society, that council suspend the rules under section 23 of the council procedure bylaw number 1164/2021 to allow for discussion on this matter prior to a motion being moved or seconded.
Do we need a motion to go to this section 23? Could I have a motion to that effect?
So move, Mayor Tallon.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vidal. Discussion. I guess this is a discussion on the blanks, and in my conversation with staff on this agenda item, I didn't want to speak for anyone, so.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, we need to call the vote on what we just agreed to avoid the rules, right? Like to call the vote on that motion, please. Unanimous, all in favor. Now to the blanks on the recommendation. I'll open the floor for any councillor to express interest. Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. A couple of things. This week, Maureen and Paul dropped off two big, thick historical books on the area, which I was very appreciative of. I've hardly had a chance to read in them, but I'm a big historical buff. So if it would please the council, if nobody else wants the position, I'd be happy to do the Historical Society liaison position. That's my first comment, sorry.
Counselor Vital.
I hear that they have good food. Okay.
I will make a motion then that Councillor Schweinbetz be appointed as council liaison to the Agassiz Harrison Historical Society.
Second that, Mayor Talon.
Moved by Counselor Vital and seconded by Counselor Fascio. Any discussion on that? I'll put that to a vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Counselor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I will offer to be appointed as councillor liaison to Healthy Communities. I have sat on this committee before. It's a very, very good committee with representatives from Kent, from Fraser Health, Community Services, Earthwise Society. I thoroughly enjoyed it when I was sitting on the committee. So if there's no objection by other councillors, I offer to sit on it.
I move the recommendation for Councillor Vidal to sit on the Agassiz Harrison Healthy Communities, Mayor Talon.
Seconded.
Moved by Counselor Fascio and seconded by Counselor Schweinbenz. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the question to a vote. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Corporate Officer, do we now need to circle back to the full recommendation with the blanks filled in and have a motion to that effect?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. That's okay. We can move right on to the next recommendation there regarding the age-friendly committee.
And the recommendation is that I be appointed to the age-friendly committee.
Moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Counselor Fascio, seconded by, I think, Counselor Schweinbenz. You got you beat to the buzzer there. Any discussion? No discussion. I'll put that question to a vote. All in favor? Carries unanimously. The next one is Counselor Schweinbenz be appointed to the Environmental Advisory Committee. Moved by Counselor Vital, seconded by Counselor Jackson. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor Talon, thank you. First of all, I've been part of the committee for the last year, and it's been loads of fun. We've come up with some ideas, but we're new and we need more ideas. It's a small group. So I would like to amend the motion and just make sure that we can open up this committee to more people. I've already had a couple of people, including a former member of the committee who would like to be part of it again, and one other person who would like to join. So I'd like to amend the motion and make sure that we can expand it and accept more applications.
I'm going to seek some guidance from our corporate officer here. This is for council liaison. So I think unless you're looking for one other counselor to join you, I think that might be out of scope if I'm not mistaken. Corporate officer.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz. If council would like for additional members to be appointed to the committee, I believe you can have up to 7 on that committee, and currently we would have 4, I believe. So if council would like, they could make a separate motion. I would ask for a separate motion to put out another call for applicants for the environmental committee.
Thank you, corporate officer. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Yes, I'd like to move that we open it up for more applications.
I may need a little help here. Now we've got 2 motions on the go.
Thank you.
Need some guidance.
So we have a motion moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson, to appoint Councillor Schweinbenz to the Environmental Committee. If we could vote on that motion first, and then Counselor Schweinbenz can make an additional motion to put out another call for applications.
Thank you, Corporate Officer. Any further discussion on the motion to appoint Counselor Schweinbenz? No further discussion. I'll put the question to a vote. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Corporate Officer, do we deal with the other motion right now?
If council wishes to, yep.
Counselor Schweinbenz, you moved to.
Thank- Yep, thank you, Mayor Talon. Yes, I'd like to move that we expand the application process and have more people join the environmental committee.
Second, Mayor Talon.
Seconded by Counselor Fascio. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll put that question to a vote. All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. The next one, Mayor Talon be appointed as council liaison to the Harrison Agassiz Chamber of Commerce. Could I have a motion to that effect? Moved by Counselor Vital, seconded by Counselor Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll put that question to a vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And the last one is Mayor Talon to be appointed to serve as the council representative on the Let's Mott Community to Community Forum. Could I have a motion to that effect? Moved by Counselor Jackson, seconded by Counselor Schweinbenz. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor Talon. Councillor Vidal gave a wonderful presentation about your dealings, your meeting with the Let's Mud Community Group. And I'm just wondering, and I think our partnerships and our relationships with our surrounding communities, including the First Nations communities, is going to be so important in the next couple of years. So I don't want to lose any momentum if you have that, or any of your strong relationships, if you have that with the leadership groups of those communities. And yet I know that you have a lot of experience in this arena as well. So I just want to see if there's discussion there, if we are taking you off of that as a liaison. Are we losing some momentum?
Counselor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to Councillor Scheinbertz. Thank you for bringing that up. I do sit as the alternate, and then often staff attend a community-to-community forums, and also any other council member is invited to attend. The only thing is if anything went to a vote, that it would be the council liaison that would vote for that. But it's a very good forum, and lots of input from me, and I'm sure from Mayor Talon once he attends. I want to assure you that I will still be attending, and whatever connections and knowledge I can pass on to Mayor Talon, I'll certainly be happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Vital. Any further discussion? Counselor Schweinbenz.
Yeah, thank you for the reply, Mayor Talon. Thank you for the reply, Councillor Vidal. Yeah, I do think it's just, maybe we should all go to these meetings. I think the relationship that our council has with their councils is just going to be critical in the future for some of our plans and strategies that I hope to have going forward. So if we could be informed, all of us as council, when these meetings are taking place, or if there's even informal opportunities to meet with the leadership of the communities, I think we should seize that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the question to a vote to appoint me to the Let's Mott Community to Community Forum. All in favor? Unanimously carried. Next item of business, Corporate Officer.
The next item in business is item C, report of corporate officer regarding deputy mayor appointments. So So the recommendation is that the following members of council be appointed as deputy mayor for 2025. From January to April, Councillor Facio. From May to August, Councillor Vital. And from September to December, Councillor Schweinbenz.
Move the recommendation, Mayor Talon.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Council Vital. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll put the question to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Carried. Next item of business, corporate officer.
Next report is item D, report of corporate officer regarding the 2025 regular council meeting schedule. I'll draw council's attention to page 33 and 35. There's an attached schedule to the report. Just to quickly here, section 3B of the procedure bylaw states that regular council meetings shall be held on the first and third Mondays of each month, except for July, August, and September, where there's only one meeting. January 6th in 2025 immediately follows an office closure due to the holidays. So staff are recommending that the process from 2024 be followed, and there would be one meeting in January on the 13th. So the recommendation is that the proposed regular council meeting schedule for 2025 be approved as submitted.
Is there a motion to that?
I'll move the recommendation.
Moved
Mayor
by
Talon.
Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson. Any discussion?
Yes,
Councillor
Mayor
Schweinbenz.
Talon, thank you. Fantastic that we have this ahead of time. During the campaign, I heard a lot of comment about the use of this facility all year round. I noticed that we're scheduled to meet in the council chambers, the small council chambers during July, August, and September. And I think we ought to try, where possible, to have it always in here or a larger spot where everybody can attend. The school's been offered to us. If there's a way that we can work with the festival, I know that there's conflicts, but now that we know we can set up within a day, within a few hours, and take down within a few hours, I'm wondering if we can work with the festival to find a way to always be in here or some other larger spot. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Just Councillor Schweinbenz.
Mayor Talon, may I move then to amend this? We don't need to necessarily change the dates, but may I move to refer this to staff to find dates that would work in here for the summer months?
Corporate officer.
Thank you. Just for a little bit of background, the location of council meetings has been discussed at this table a few times. I think most recently at a November 2023 committee of the whole, where it was decided at that time by council to move it to village office for those 3 months in the summer. If we could perhaps separate the two motions out, so we would have the motion to adopt the schedule. And then if it's council's wish that the matter of council meeting locations be referred back to staff for a staff report, council can certainly move that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, corporate officer. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Mayor Talon, the only problem I see arising if we have that motion and accept these dates, then we are committed to these dates and we don't have any flexibility in July and August and September. I'm new to this. I'm just trying to conform to the wishes of most people that I talk to want to be able to be in a larger space. Thank you.
Councillor Vidal. Oh, Councillor Fashion.
Yeah, the schedule or the places can be changed by resolution of council. It's not set in stone. So I would agree that we accept the schedule as this and then refer it back to staff or to come back to us with a report for the change the location if possible at a later date.
Um, now we've got another motion. Could I have a seconder to that? Second, wait, corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. So there is a motion on the floor moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Jackson, that the proposed regular council meeting schedule for 2025 be approved as submitted. And just for clarification, they can be held at any location within the village according to the council procedure bylaws. So if we adopt the dates, that doesn't mean that the location can't be flexible after a report from staff.
Thank you, corporate officer. So we have a motion to accept the schedule, and seconded by Councillor Vital. Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I just wanted to comment that this issue has come up, I think, bazillion times since I've been on council. During the pandemic, we moved from the village office to here for council meetings to allow for physical distancing. And it worked out very, very well. I am reluctant to make any commitment to move either to here or to any other facility during July and August, simply because it's not just the festival, it's artisan markets, it's weddings, there's plenty of things going on in Memorial Hall. I believe that September, we could return here as most of the festivals and everything are concluded for the summer. And I do want to point out once again that even though it is a small chambers at the village office, anybody can attend via Zoom. And they have the ability to, if they choose to want to ask questions of council at the end of the agenda, there is always that opportunity to do that. So I would be flexible and say, yes, we can move back here in September, but not for July and August. Perhaps there is another venue within the village that could accommodate. I don't want to see changing our regular Monday nights because I think that that would provide nothing more than confusion to our residents. But I am open to staff bringing back a report, and I support that motion to refer it to staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Any further discussion? Councillor Swinburne.
Yeah, Mayor Talon, yeah, what I've heard over the last couple of months is that Zoom is not an effective and efficient way to participate and observe council meetings, and it was very loud and clear, we need to come up with a better solution. Whether it's the school or whether it's a Thursday night in here, I'm not sure what the answer is, but if I'm going to vote on this, I want to make sure that staff is very clear that the community has spoken and they want it somewhere else in July and August, other than the small council chambers.
Thank you, Councillor Schweinbans. Is there any further discussion on the motion for our schedule at this time? Seeing none, I'd like to put the question to a vote. All in favor of the schedule? All opposed? One opposed, 3 in favor. Motion carries. There was discussion, Councillor Swinburne, you were proposing a second motion or a motion to follow up, a motion to, I'll let you speak to it.
Yes, I'm not sure of the wording you would like, corporate officer, but a motion to amend or a motion to refer back to staff to find alternate locations, whether it be the school or be in here if it doesn't interfere with the festival and artisan markets. But to find another place other than the community hall, village hall.
Is there a seconder to that? Oh, corporate officer?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz, if I could just suggest the motion that the matter of council meeting locations for the months of July, August, and September be referred back to staff to bring a report to council.
Thank you, corporate officer. Is there a seconder to that motion? Councillor Jackson seconds. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Jackson.
Just a quick, yeah, Mayor Talon, the city of Chilliwack has about 80,000 people. Their council chamber cannot accommodate 80,000 people. So we have limited resources here and we've moved back there. First of all, at times it felt safer where we were, yeah, in our office. And it's okay to bring in this report, but it's not necessarily it's not really gonna solve anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'd like to put the question to a vote. All in favor of the motion? Carried unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer.
Next report is item E, report of our Chief Administrative Officer regarding council retreat and strategic planning.
Thank
Mr.
you. Thank you, Your Worship. After a new council is sworn in following a general election, they are provided an opportunity to attend a regional training session that provides a high-level understanding of what to expect for the duration of their term of office. This training provides a framework to set new and experienced elected officials up for a successful team. As the village's newly formed council is the result of a by-election, the option to attend a regional training session is not discussed or not available. In addition, new councils often have a multi-day strategic planning session or retreat to discuss budgets, capital projects, and various components that make up the budget for the next 5 years. Council's strategic plan is the most important roadmap for both council and the community that defines and guides an opportunity into the future. The village has an intimate relationship with Mr. Poole as he was the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. Mr. Poole has 38 years of local government experience, who has supported, mentored, and liaised with councils and senior staff with a focus on building professional relationships, effective council practices, and preparing strategic plans. Staff recommends that council authorize staff to engage Mr. Poole for the training that is listed in the report, and also the strategic planning session identifying the items that are in the report. Mayor and council will need to determine whether they would like to review and or amend the existing 2023 strategic plan or create a whole new 25-26 strategic plan. Mr. Poole suggested November 27th and 28th would be an appropriate timing for training and a strategic planning session because mayor and council will have been through their 4th council meeting. Mr. Poole asked that council make notes of the challenges they may be experiencing during the first few council meetings so he can help by answering any questions or mitigate any procedural challenges. Mayor and council will also mayor and council will have to decide where they would like to host these planning sessions, either in the village or at an alternate location. If council wishes to host the sessions off-site, additional funds for meeting location rentals, lunches, and accommodations will need to be considered. Staff suggests allocating up to $15,000 from surplus to engage Mr. Poole for 2 days of training and strategic planning sessions, lunches, and meeting space rental. And the recommendation in front of council is that staff be authorized to engage Mr. Poole to facilitate a training session with council and assist council and staff in developing a strategic plan for the remaining term of 2025 to 2026 at a cost of up to $15,000 to be funded by surplus.
Does someone move? Councillor Jackson moves that, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. I would like to make an amendment to the motion. I think it would be prudent and wise to also request that our planner, Ken Cossey, attend the retreat to provide an overview of the planning process, including the role of the APC, not only for yourself and for Councillor Scheinbens, but also as a review. I certainly would, I'm sure, get a lot out of a review from Mr. Cossey on the procedures from planning, our zoning, and once an application is made to staff, what processes to go through for development. So with that, my amendment to the motion will read that Ken Cossey also be included to provide an overview of the planning process, including the role of the APC.
Is there a seconder to that motion?
Oh, I'll second that motion.
Councillor Fascio seconds the motion to amend to include Mr. Cossey in the workshop discussion. Councillor Fascio, I saw you first.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. The strategic planning, I agree with. Of course, we do have our strategic plan that was conducted. We have the report of October the 3rd, 2023, where it outlines the strategic plan for 23-26. Looking at what might be thrown at us at this proposed retreat, I believe they will need at least 3 days, possibly probably maybe a day and a half with Mr. Paul, and also we should be discussing the financial plan, manager's reports, upcoming projects, future projects, and the sustainability of the community, and that will take a good day and a half just to discuss that. And I think, and it's in all fairness, it's also an opportunity for yourself, your worship, and our councillor to catch up pretty quick on what's going to happen in the next 2 years. So I would propose it should be at least a 3-day session to include as many reports as we have outstanding reports that would come. I just used the Dyke project as one of the examples to come forward, and the other major projects that are going to be starting soon or starting next year. So that is I fully support it. I think it's a great idea. We used to do this several years ago, where it worked out very well with the council and staff to review everything and go everything. And it's important also that's on that. One of those bullets is a council procedure bylaw, which we should get up and going and really put in place by the end of this year, which is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Councillor Jackson, discussion.
Thank you, Worship. I've always advocated retreats. In the corporate world, that's how you build your business. We lost a lot of time in the last 2 years. We have not been able to really go forward. This is going to give this opportunity with you, Mayor, and our new councillor to get new ideas, fresh approach, and we can do that as a team. And I think this is really, really important. I agree with Councillor Fascio. It's going to take 3 days. We have a lot of catch up, but the positive thing is if we do this and do this right, we can make a big leap forward for the future. So the quicker we get at this, the better we're all going to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Schweinbans, did you have a comment?
Oh, yeah, I'm supportive of it as well. And also, it looks like we have an option to review the existing 2023 strategic plan or create a whole new one for 2024 to 2026. Let's go for the new one. We're new, we've got some new ideas, and the pandemic kind of altered and stopped public input and that sort of thing. So let's move forward with the new plan.
Thank you, Councillor Swinevans. So the motion is to include Mr. Cossey. And perhaps we'll deal with that first motion first. There's no further discussion on that, to include Mr. Cossey in our workshop. I'll put that to the vote, to the question. All in favor of including Mr. Cossey in our workshop, carried unanimously. Back to the original motion, and I'm wondering if I could get some advice from staff and administration, whether the original motion can stand as is, or it needs to be amended or reconsidered with expanded times and the addition of Mr. Cossey's participation.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to council. I think we'll be okay because Mr. Poole's participation could be the first 2 days, and then the third day we can move into a plan with, a day to discuss projects with council. So I think we'll be okay there, just to avoid additional costs. Now, the other consideration, not beyond this, the current resolution on the floor, is to decide where we're going to have this or host the process.
Thank you, CAO Tyson. Any discussion with that information? Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. May I suggest that for the next council meeting that the staff come back with some ideas where we could hold the retreat instead of trying to flush it out this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Any other discussion? If I heard you correct, Councillor Fascio, is a motion to refer back to council or to staff to some options for location. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Staff is hearing what the concern of council with respect to the location. So if you just want to vote on the motion that's on the table, we can certainly bring back a report for the next council meeting.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll put the question to a vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer.
Next item is item F, report of the CAO regarding responsible conduct framework for local government elected officials, request for input.
CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. British Columbia's responsible conduct framework for local governments elected officials is designed to help municipalities, regional district boards, and their elected members learn about, promote, and ensure adherence to standards of appropriate conduct concerns raised by elected officials and staff with shortcomings in the existing framework prompted UBCM and the LGMA to produce the attached joint discussion paper. The discussion paper explores potential for mandatory codes of conduct in all levels of government in British Columbia and presents 3 models to address issues related to the administration and enforcement of codes. It does not offer prescriptions or recommend specific path forward. However, it identifies a new option for code of conduct administration and enforcement that exists between the status quo and a centralized provincial or province-wide service. Local government councils and boards and individual elected officials are encouraged to provide comment on the following questions. Should the province be requested to develop a legislation mandating codes of conduct modeling on established best practices for all local governments in British area and BC? Are legislated changes need to support code of conduct administration and enforcement? And if so, what factors do you think are more important to the success of a new approach to a code of administration and enforcement? Councils and boards are invited to respond to these questions in writing to UBCM by November 1st, 2024. Recommendation in front of council this evening is that the village council, or that each village council member provide staff with answers to the questions asked in the discussion paper for potential for change, responsible conduct framework for local government elected officials dated September 2024 for submission to UBCM.
Second, Mayor Talon.
Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Fascio. Discussion. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. There have been numerous resolutions presented to UBCM, either through the area association that I'm part of, Lower Mainland Local Government Association, or individual municipalities, stressing the need, especially in smaller communities who just don't have the financial resources available, should an investigation be required. So I also did sit on a very informal group through Lower Mainland LGA to advocate to the province for the appointment of an ethics commissioner. I believe that we have now been working on this since about 2013 or 2014. So I am really, really pleased to see the discussion paper come forward. And I support the recommendation, and I really encourage every council member to read the discussion paper. It provides 3 models for under consideration, and through you, Mayor Talon, to staff, is there a date that you feel comfortable to have these submissions in by prior to you forwarding them to UBCM? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. If I understand correctly, they're expecting a response, or the opportunity to respond is prior to November 1st.
Through you, Mayor Talon, just to staff. Staff, are you looking to submit for us in whoever individual councillors choose to reply, or are you more comfortable with each of us responding directly to UBCM? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Staff.
Thank you, Your Worship. That'll be up to staff. I know we have some newer council members. Perhaps they may or may not want to submit. I don't know. If in previous discussions with Mayor Talon, we were thinking that maybe it might be an opportunity for to kind of pull what maybe some a common maybe common message from the council to the UBCM and LGMA through this portal. Certainly we can do that on your behalf, but perhaps if we get answers from council individually, and if we look at maybe seeing whatever the common theme is, we'll submit it that way, if that works for you.
Councillor Vital.
Thank you, CAO. Yeah, that's clarification, but once again, I think this is an important discussion paper, and like I said before, I'm finally pleased to see it's moving forward and through UBCM. So I will certainly be providing my input into it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I've read the discussion paper myself. Just 3 very distinct recommendations at the end. I think I would benefit if there are views from the councillors on what recommendation they might be leaning towards to understand those perspectives. And I'm in favor of the motion. But I'd like to add a motion ultimately that this be an agenda item for our next council meeting, just to follow up and see if there's a consensus from council as to which of the recommendations they might support. I'm not sure I can move anything as chair, can I? I can? Oh, wow. Fantastic. Then I moved something today and seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Any discussion on that motion to return to this next council meeting? I'll put the question to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous agreement on that. That take us to our next agenda item, or do we still have a motion outstanding from the first one to respond?
Thank
Yes,
you.
we
That's
do.
correct. We do, yeah.
Okay, any further discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, I'd like to put that to a vote and ask the question. All in favor? Unanimously carried. Next agenda item, please.
Our next report is our Community Services Manager, who has a presentation regarding the Resort Municipality Initiative and the Resort Development Strategy.
I'll turn the floor over to our Community Services Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talent. I'd like to start with a brief PowerPoint presentation prior to presenting the recommendations in the report. My microphone sound okay? Yeah, okay. So I wanted to just touch on the RMI program as we have some projects coming up and we'll need to be looking at creating a new resort development strategy. So we're just going to touch on these few points tonight. So what is RMI? RMI stands for Resort Municipality Initiative, and it's a program managed by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport. The RMI program is intended to support small tourism-based municipalities to build and diversify their tourism infrastructure, deliver exceptional visitor experiences, and incorporate sustainable tourism practices and products. There are 14 resort municipalities participating in the RMI program. The RMI program allows the village to complete infrastructure projects and implement events that would not be possible without. So RMI in the village of Harrison Hot Springs. According to the Local Government Act, Section 583, the village of Harrison Hot Springs is a designated resort region. It's also a participating community in the Municipal and District Tax MRDT program, commonly known as the Additional Hotel Room Tax. RMI funds support infrastructure, events, and administration. And over the last 5 years, the average amount received annually through the RMI program was $518,100. So what is an RDS? RDS stands for Resort Development Strategy, and it's one of the requirements of the RMI program. These are created for a 3-year term. A community's RDS must identify the long-term vision for the community and what they plan to do to achieve the RMI outcomes. These outcomes include extending or diversifying the community's tourism season, increasing visitation, improving the sustainability of the tourism sector, and enhancing the visitor experience. The RDS should have strong support and must include consultation with community and tourism partners during its development. To highlight some completed projects that were part of prior RDSs, we have some Esplanade Avenue revitalization, the village entrance, electric vehicle charging stations, Parks and Trails development, the Starlight skating rink, the visitor information electronic signboard outside the village office, lagoon fountain and aeration. I skipped over some, there's a big list there. RMI funds have also supported 6 annual events presented through community partnerships. This is the Family Day Concert, Sasquatch Days, Canada Day, Harrison Festival of the Arts, Bands on the Beach, and Lights by the Lake. The current RDS term is 2022-23 to 2024-2025. The boat launch building upgrades are underway and the estimated completion date is early 2025. This building will be expanded and renovated to accommodate a skate rental shop, concession, and public accessible washroom. The accessible playground and shade structures construction is also underway with the estimated completion by December 2024. This project will replace the 5 to 12-year-old aging playground with new inclusive play equipment, rubber surfacing, swings, and a shade structure over the existing Tots playground. Another project that is starting soon is the Lagoon Beach redevelopment. This is building off of the 2019 Lagoon Area Master Plan that was created by Council. Key features of this project will include removal of vegetation on the inside edge of Lagoon, site furnishings, upgrades to the walkway, addition of lighting, and wayfinding and interpretive signage. So, next steps. As it is a provincial election year, ministry staff have advised that confirmation of the continuance of the RMI program will not occur until after the provincial election. Ministry staff are optimistic of its continuance, so we would still like to begin the process of these next steps. Just as for information, the earliest that the village would receive the next funding would be July 2025. So after a question period from mayor and council, I will outline what needs to happen next to construct an RDS committee. So that will be the first step in committee establishments and appointments. Then the RDS will be developed and a presentation will be brought forward to council for their adoption. That will then be submitted to the province for approval, and then the funding agreement would be signed and we would see the funds come in, and then the projects and events could be implemented. Again, this is dependent upon the continuation of the RMI program.
I'll move the recommendation for discussion. Mayor Talon?
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion.
Yeah.
Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to our manager of community services, this committee, would that be a committee of just one councillor or two, or is that a councillor and staff?
Community Services Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Fascio. In the last RDS committee that was established, did just have one member of council, but that is as council wishes, so it could have more than one if that is the desire of council. Other representatives that were on the committee in the past included the community services manager at the time, the executive director of Tourism Harrison River Valley, and the chair of the Tourism Harrison River Valley Board.
Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to staff, Chrissy. A question and a comment. The MRDT money, of which we've received $518,000, I think, last year. What is the delta between that value and what we actually collect in hotel tax here in Harrison?
Someone on staff able to answer that? Thank you.
I can speak briefly to this, and then I might need Tyson's assistance as well. The MRDT tax is remitted directly to the government, and then it is dispersed from there to different stakeholders. So in our community, Tourism Harrison River Valley receives the portion of the MRDT funds, as that has very specific guidelines on what those funds can be used for to support the tourism specifically in that community. The government then takes sort of the lump sum from all over the province and then does some math on it and distributes it according to their allocation formulas based on community size. And then that forms our like base funding. So that amount does fluctuate year to year. So that was just the average that the last 5 years brought us.
Thank you, Community Services Manager. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Chrissy. I'm not sure if you've answered the question. I'm just wondering, like, do we collect more than the $518,000? I mean, our hotel partners, are we getting a fair deal out of this? Would it be better if we just kept the money ourselves and had our own program? do we know, is there a delta between this $518,000 and what we actually collect here in town? Do we have that data?
Is there someone on staff that can answer that question?
Thank you, Your Worship. I wish I could. I don't know what the total funds that the village does receive, collect and send to the province. But the way the program is set up is there is the 3% hotel tax, and then a portion of that is what funds the RMI. And the RMI has, like, as mentioned, there's 14 communities. And of course, Whistler is one of the larger of the 14. So of course, it's kind of a sliding scale based on size, and there's a couple of different parameters. So of course, Whistler will see the most, and the smaller communities will see a lower amounts. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, it sounds like we don't know what we don't know. And this money as well, does it go towards operational costs, picking up litter and that sort of thing as well?
Anyone on staff answer that question?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz. It depends on the project. So if it is a infrastructure upgrade, there are certain components of staffing that can go towards that. But for routine maintenance and upkeep, it's not necessarily included. The ministry staff has been very supportive, though, in indicating that we could request funds for upgrading if repairs were to be needed as well. There is a portion of funds each year that just supports the RMI program and the staffing costs that are associated with that. So there is a portion of each of those annual funding amounts that is supporting administrative costs.
Thank you, Community Service Manager. Further discussion on this? Councillor Fascio.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Just like to point out, when this started back in 2004, we went through quite a lengthy discussion to get this hotel tax, and my colleague, Councillor Allen, was the one. Alan Jackson was the one that headed this up at the time. He was a citizen. He was on a committee, and we worked on it. And in 2006, Tourism Harrison were the first to receive the 2% of their for tourism related to do with bringing in more folks, more room nights, advertising and marketing Tourism Harrison. And in 2007, the village received 2% for infrastructure to do with tourism related projects. And that's all the beautification, which some have been noted tonight. What's happened in the village has come out of the hotel tax. Later on, I'm not sure which year, the municipal regional district tax came in, where Tourism Harrison received an extra 1%, which I believe received 3%. That's a separate issue from the village, nothing to do with the village. They run their own show. We don't, we just contribute to from our portion for the 6 events that Ms. Ovens pointed out. But tourism, I'll let maybe Councillor Jackson want to jump in on this one. He's the one that created Tourism Harrison, may give you more clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio.
Yeah.
Councillor Jackson.
I think it's really important that these are 2 separate items. Tourism Harrison gets the money directly. RMI comes into the village. They're an independent organization. They have their own board of direction. When I set up Tourism Harrison originally, I did it with the purpose of making sure that politicians don't get their hands on the money, because that way we know it won't get directed always into what. Harrison has a roughly 61% occupancy. The rest of the province is about 58%. So we know what they're doing is working. It is very strong. The RMI has been the lifeblood of this village. We did that plaza. We put the whole new beach front in here. If anybody had been here 204, 206 and saw what the infrastructure was like, they'd turn around and get in the car and go way back. And that money has gone a long, long way to beautify this, this beautiful place of Harrison. I just want to make sure that they're separated and they're not intermingled, and our staff has spent the money extremely wisely. We may not all agree with what they do, but that's not the point. It's been wise. So I think we should carry on with this, appoint a committee and move forward. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. There's a lot of interest in this committee. I'm interested in this committee as well. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you for the clarification, both of you. I just, if I've got questions about the history, then I know people who are listening probably have questions about the history. I think it's fantastic what they've done with the funds. Every day I drive by the new museum, and it's just an amazing accomplishment and that they've done. My other question, maybe this is to staff, and well, it's with regards to the motion, and that is the RDS committee itself. I think I heard you correctly saying that there's 4 people on this committee. And all great people, I'm sure, but I'm wondering if we could expand this committee. There's so many creative, passionate, arts-oriented, development-oriented people in this village, and I feel like we need more support, more ideas on this RDS committee. And I'm wondering if we could amend this to change the scopes of reference, or and improve this committee in some way to make it more effective.
Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon, for you to corporate office, or do we need to suspend the rules once again in order to make a motion for assignment to the committee?
Corporate officer.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, through you to Councillor Vital. We can make an amendment to the motion that the motion be amended by inserting the name, whoever is appointed to the committee. We could have 2 council members, but not more than 2 appointed to the committee, just because of quorum. Historically, in the past, and community services manager can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past, it has not included members of the community on the committee. I don't know if you want to speak some more to that.
Community services manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Yes, that is correct. It hasn't included specifically a member of the public. The committee meetings are open to the public, but just being that the focus is so set on tourism, that I believe that is why it was created like that, because it's more of a needing to ensure we are meeting the needs of the tourism industry and the guidelines set forward from the province.
Thank you, community services manager. Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Then I'll make an amendment to the recommendation that council appoint Mayor Tallon and Councillor Jackson as the council representatives on the Resort Development Strategy Committee.
Second that, Matt.
That motion is seconded by Councillor Fascio. Discussion on that, now the amendment to the original motion. Councillor Schweinbenz.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. I think that's great. I do think we should involve people in the community members. Like I said, there's so many passionate people out there that could lend their ideas and their creativity, and I think we should expand this just beyond the 4 people and now 5 people.
Councillor Vital.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon, for you to Councillor Schweinbenz. The recommendations from the committee do come here to council for approval. And at that time or prior to that, any of our residents can comment on it at that time. I'm not in favor of having and putting out for community members to sit on the committee. I do think that there is a place for them to be engaged, but I don't think sitting directly on the committee is the right way to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vital. Any other comments on the amendment to the motion? Councillor Pasha.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Just a brief comment that the staff are putting out opportunities, and we got one coming up pretty soon, I think, of an open house to bring forward suggestions moving forward in the village. And I think that's where the public gets really involved when we have these open houses. We've had several in the last while, and I think there's another one coming up this month, is it? Yes, there is one coming up this month, October, an open house to get public input. So I believe that's a good way for the public to get involved, fill out questionnaires and give us their input. We take that into consideration. And of course, there's always the open meetings for them to ask a question as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. Any further discussion on the amendment to the motion? I'll put that to put the question to a vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer.
Thank you. I'll just ask for a vote on the main motion as amended, please. Thank you.
On the main motion, yes. And any further discussion on the main motion? Seeing none, I'll put that question to a vote as well. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Next item.
Thank you. The next item is report of Community Services Manager regarding Spirit Trail fuel maintenance.
Community Service Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. This report is to provide an update to council on fuel management work along Spirit Trail. At the January 15th, 2024 regular council meeting, the following resolution was passed. That staff be authorized to proceed with prescription development for fuel treatment work in the Spirit Trail, and that staff seek additional grant funding sources once the prescription is developed to be able to complete the fuel treatment to a fuel management standard for all costs above the originally budgeted $30,000, and that the above motion be amended by adding that the matter be referred back to staff to research option 2, as per the January 10th, 2024 email from Blackwell and Associates to look at fuel treatment for the water tower area as a timely alternative to the Spirit Trail. BA Blackwell and Associates delivered their final fuel prescription for the Spirit Trail location to staff on June 19th, 2024. A request for proposals for forest fuel management was posted on BC Bid on July 4th and closed on July 24th. 2 submissions were received, one from Chartwell Resource Group Limited and Tolson's Enterprise Limited, and one from GBF Technical Forest Inc. The 2 submissions were reviewed and a selection was made based upon proposed quotation to complete the project. In accordance with the village's purchasing and procurement policy number 1.08, staff awarded this contract to GBF Technical Forestry Inc. The Spirit Trail Loop is located on Crown land managed by the Fraser Valley Regional District. The site has additional requirements prior to the commencement of work due to the land ownership and values at risk in the area. Staff and the contractor are working to secure all necessary permissions, and fuel management work is anticipated to begin before the end of 2024. In the 2024 financial plan, council budgeted $100,000 to go towards the development of fuel prescriptions and fuel management work in the village. The proposed budget for the Spirit Trail fuel mitigation is $47,300, which will be covered by the amount previously budgeted. The recommendation before you tonight is that the Community Services Manager's report dated October 7th, 2024, regarding Spirit Trail fuel management be received for information.
Move the recommendation, Mayor Tallon.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion. Councillor Swinburne.
Thank you, Mayor Tallon. Yeah, a lot of comment came up the last couple of months about the east sector, and I've got concerns about it. I jog in there every day or walk in there every day with the dog and family, and it's a very wet area, a lot of deciduous trees. I'm just wondering if the scope of the work will go beyond the Spirit Trail? That's my first question. And secondly, is this money being provided to us by the Fire Smart provincial program? Or is it coming out of our budget?
Community Service Manager, can you answer Councillor Swinburne's questions?
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz. The desired prescription was for a buffer. I'm just trying to find the exact number. Oh, a 10-meter trail side buffer. So that's just along the Spirit Trail loop. The thought behind that was the risk for ignition if there were to be anyone walking through on the commonly used trail with a cigarette or anything of that sort. And then to answer your funding question, this project and the water tower fuel management project were funded directly from council's decisions, not from grant funds. So it was worked into the approved budget for 2024.
Thank you, Community Services Manager. Further discussion, Councillor Swinburne.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, and thank you. You mentioned that it's owned by the Crown and operated by the FVRD. Why is Harrison paying for this cost?
Is there someone on staff that can answer that question?
Thank you, Your Worship. The reason for using surplus, I believe, or reserve surplus, was because it was a motion of council that was brought forward by, I believe it was the former mayor that actually brought it forward. So that's kind of the direction that we were given by council at that time.
Thank you, CAO Co. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll like to put the motion, put it to a question and a vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. The next item on business, Corporate Officer.
The next item is item I, report of Community Services Manager regarding Memorial Recognition Policy 1.30.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Mayor Talon. This report is to present a proposed change to Memorial Recognition Policy number 1.30. Since first establishing a policy in 2002, the village has permitted memorial benches at specific locations as per the policy, which was last updated in 2019. Once purchased, the bench becomes property of the village of Harrison Hot Springs. The fees are set to cover the purchase of the bench, memorial plate, and 10 years of anticipated maintenance. After the 10-year period, the purchaser is to be given the first opportunity to purchase a replacement bench for the same location and renew tenure, or choose to forego their tenure. If the bench isn't renewed, the memorial plates are returned to the last address on file. Numerous families over the years have expressed an interest in purchasing the expired bench that was installed in memory of a loved one. Currently, upon removal, benches are taken apart and the metal is recycled while the wood is disposed of. According to the village's disposal of surplus items and equipment policy, the benches must be disposed of at a public auction if not destroyed as they currently are. If the benches were to be offered by donation to the family, the representative would be required to make a nominal donation to the village and sign a document acknowledging that they are aware that the bench has aged beyond suitability for public use. Attached is a copy of the memorial recognition policy with the proposed change in there. The only change to highlight for council from what it had been previously is item 1G. Upon expiration of the 10-year period, benches will be removed from village property and the purchaser can offer to acquire the bench by donation in order to retain it for sentimental value. If the purchaser does not wish to acquire the bench will be disposed of in accordance with the village's disposal of surplus items and equipment policy 1.11. There are no financial considerations for this report. And the recommendation before you is that Memorial Recognition Policy number 1.30 be updated with the attached proposed changes.
Thank you, Community Services. Moved by Councillor Vital, seconded by Councillor Schweinbenz. Discussion. Counselor Swinbanks.
Thank you, Mayor Talon, to Community Services Manager. These benches, I believe, are now made of echo wood or plastic wood, and they should be very durable. Can we not just change the plaque? If somebody hasn't paid their bill for 10 years or the family's done continuing, can we not just remove that plaque and resell that spot to another family?
Community Service Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Talon. Through you to Councillor Schweinbenz. I agree, and I believe that these new benches are going to last much longer. It's hard to predict right now what that will look like, so I think that that will just need to be adjustments to the policy as the years go by and once we sort of see that lifespan. I think ideally, as long as the bench is still in usable condition, extending and allowing the plaque to be there for longer, as long as it's not requiring any additional village maintenance to upkeep, then it sort of still keeps in some of the previous policies that existed. And then it could allow for it to be on site for longer, still with that same plaque.
Thank you, Community Services Manager. Counselor Swinbanks.
So we move to amend item G to exclude the new modern echo wood benches from this policy.
This is a new motion to amend the motion. Counselor Swinbanks, I'm just not clear what was proposed. If you could restate, please.
I'm proposing to move that we amend this recommendation and amend item G so that we can, so that there's probably a fleet of old wooden benches that this applies to, but the new modern echo wood benches wouldn't apply to item G. I'm just trying to save on recycling, environmental disposal.
So there's a motion to amend to have item G exclude some type of, you said it fast and I missed it, fancy wood that's not wood.
Sure.
Is there a seconder to that motion? No seconder, so the motion. Or
Can I
Councillor
just make a
Pascoe.
quick comment, Mayor
Absolutely.
Talon, please? With respect to my colleague, I think these benches now pretty new, they're being replaced. I think we should give them let us see how they fan out with the weather over the years. They could wear out, or whether the sun affects this material, I don't know. They look great, but I think like the manager of community service says, that's something that we could change the policy at a later time if that's required. That's what I would leave it as it is, and then as we move along, if the policy needs adjusting, that we could do it at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fascio. CAO Co.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I guess I'm going to be kind of speaking the way Councillor Fascio was, because we've only just started installing these, the newer style of benches, and the hope is that we see all of the older benches replaced with the newer ones. And council, our staff can bring it back to council in the future when we see our first one of these benches reach their 10-year timeline, and then we can revisit it at that time.
Thank you, CAO Co. Any further discussion on the motion to amend it as is? Seeing none, I'd like to put the question to a vote. All in favor of the motion? Carried unanimously. Next item of business, corporate officer.
The next item is a report of our Director of Operations regarding contract awards.
Director of Operations.
Thank you. The report brought forward is to provide an update to council regarding the recent contracts that have been evaluated and awarded following a competitive bid process. Recent contract awards include master plans for water, storm sewer, sanitary sewer, parks and trails, and village lands. There's also been recent contract awards for SCADA system and electric pickup. For these recent projects, the village engaged in a competitive tender process by requesting quotes or by issuing a request for proposals to meet the requirements in the procurement policy. I'll provide a brief update on these projects. For the water, storm, and sanitary sewer master plans, council highlighted the need for updating outdated master plans as priority action items in the 2023 strategic plan. Staff consulted Wedler Engineering, one of the village's preferred engineering firms, to support in the tender process and assist the village in finding a proponent to lead in the creation of each master plan. Through this process, a tailored scope of services was created to fit the village's needs, and Wedler could act as a third-party engineer to assist in the evaluation process. The village issued an RFP on August 22nd for the 3 separate master plans. By the closing date of September 16th, 2 proposals were received for the water master plan, 1 for the storm sewer, and no proposals for the sanitary sewer master plan. Sanitary sewer RFP has been reissued with a closing date of October 8th. As outlined in the village's procurement and the purchasing and procurement policy number 1.08, given that this project was included in the financial plan, staff have awarded the water and storm sewer master plans to Water Street Engineering. For the water and storm sewer master plans, the project scope and optional costs are currently being reviewed by staff with consultation from Wedler Engineering. Funding for these projects will come from water and sewer development cost charges. Parks and Trails Master Plan was identified as a council strategic priority of a healthy, livable community. The objective of this master plan is to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the village's parks and trails and better plan for the next 15 years and beyond. Through community and stakeholder engagement, the master plan will create a strategic direction in the management, development, enhancement of parks and trails in the village. The village engaged in a competitive tender process and issued a request for proposals on June 27th. The village received 2 proposals by the closing date of August 1st and completed an evaluation based on financial, corporate, and technical criteria. Through this evaluation, staff have awarded the contract to Lees & Associates, a Vancouver-based landscape architect, design, and planning services firm. Data gathering is currently underway with community and stakeholder engagement set to commence in mid-October. Proposal from Lees & Associates quotes the project at a total cost of $99,266. Funding for this project will come from the Parks Development cost charges. The Village Lands Master Plan was approved at the regular council meeting of August 12th for a budget of $50,000 to be funded from the Community Works Fund. This plan would create efficient use of village-owned land, balancing potential multiple uses to create a comprehensive vision for the land and provide project goals and phasing to ensure all aspects of the master plan are identified with the overall goals and objectives. As the allocated budget falls under the village's procurement policy to issue an RFP, 3 quotes were required for evaluation. Staff engaged 4 proponents to provide proposals on how they would guide the village on the process to engage the community and council on creating a village lands master plan. Proposals were evaluated based on corporate and technical criteria, and the project was awarded to Modus, a Vancouver-based planning, design, and engagement firm. Modus quoted the proposal at a total cost of $46,020. A SCADA system has been recommended for the village to have real-time monitoring and control of essential utility infrastructure. The 2024 budget included an allocation for the first phase of a SCADA system to improve efficiency and productivity by allowing remote access and control for staff. Once implemented, operators will have better control over event and alarm access and overall better management of water and sanitary sewer infrastructure. Request for proposals was issued on August 12th with a closing date of September 10th. The RFP outlined a maximum budget for Phase 1 in 2024 and asked for an action plan to convert to a full SCADA system with the budget required in future years. 4 proposals were received on the closing date, and after an evaluation, the project was awarded to MPE Engineering. MPE quoted the proposal at a cost of $59,661. Funding from this project will come from sewer and water reserves. The last update is on the village's new electric pickup. With an aging fleet, it was identified that a new pickup was required in 2024 to replace an existing truck in the utilities department. Through the local government climate action program funding, a grant was available to change fleet vehicles to electric. By switching to an electric vehicle, the village can benefit in terms of sustainability, environmental impact, efficiency, and long-term cost savings. On June 27th, an RFP was issued for the purchase of a new electric pickup truck. On July 25th, 5 proposals were received. Based on financial evaluation, the purchase was awarded to MSA Ford Sales for a 2024 Ford Lightning. Proposals quotes the truck at a cost of $66,930. The new truck is set to arrive by the end of October. The recommendation brought forward from this report is that the Director of Operations report dated October 7th, 2024 regarding an update on contract awards be received for information.
Recommendation, Mayor Tuck.
Moved by Councillor Fascio, seconded by Councillor Vital. Discussion. Councillor Swinburne.
Mayor Talon, to you, to Jace. Sorry, Mr. Hodgson. First of all, congratulations. You've got a lot of plans going on. This is amazing. Question about the Parks and Trails Master Plan. There's a whole lot of people in this community that walk the trails. I'd like to see a lot more trails, even connecting to regional trails and expansion of trails, expansion of the village footprint, and trails out in the hinterland, if you will. Will people have an opportunity to meet with this contractor to give them their feedback, and is there going to be some data collection with citizens?
Director of Operations.
Through your worship to Councillor Schoenbenz. Yes, that is correct. So we're going to be starting round 1 of engagement in October and November. So October 24th, we'll have an open house here. And at that, the consultant team will be here with some boards set up, looking for feedback from the community. At the same time, we'll be posting an online survey to also gather feedback. From there, they'll start working on putting together all the information they received from the public and from council. And round 2 engagement will happen in March and April of 2025 to then put together all the comments that they've received for a final master plan in June of 2025.
Thank you, Director of Operations. Any further comments, discussion on this? Councillor Swinburne.
Similar question for the Village Lands Master Plan. The scope of this plan, I understand, first question is, what lands are you talking about? And secondly, if the answer is what I think it is, and that is the main village or the civic center, where the head office is, where the village office is. I really believe that we need to not just think about that as sort of a civic center, but how it connects with pathways and pedestrian throughways down across the bridge to West Lillooet and to the waterfront, and also to the neighborhoods extending behind it. So I hope that the consultant Modus can look at those connectivity points as well. Thank you.
Director of Operations.
Thank you. Through you. Yes. So the scope of the work for the consultant is to look at the land by the village office and works yard. But a part of that is to also look at all the other owned village properties and just to see about connectivity. With that, we've paired it at the same time as the Parks Master Plan to also have public feedback and connectivity through both plans, which they will also be at the October 24th open house getting feedback as well. So it's very early stages just to kind of get feedback and engagement and sort of see what direction the community and councilors are looking for.
Thank you, Director of Operations. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'd like to put the motion to a vote. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next order of business.
There are no bylaws or new business this evening, so we're moving on to questions from the public. We're just going to take a quick moment to move the podium over.
Thank you. Questions from the public?
Yes, questions relating to agenda items only, I understand. So, Mr. Mayor, my question is in relation to the planned 3 or 4 day planning retreat or session, whatever you call it, with Mr. Poole, I believe. Will that be open to the public and held here in Memorial Hall so that we can observe? Because you did make a lot of commitments to open, honest government during the election, and this would be your opportunity to fulfill that promise by saying, yes, you may come and observe your council making these deliberations. My second question was about the cost. You did mention that Mr. Poole was going to be getting a retainer of, I think, $15,000. That was in the budget. You didn't mention the additional cost of including Mr. Cossey, who I believe gets an hourly honorarium and his expenses were coming to Harrison. So if he was to come for the 2 or 3 days, there would be several thousand more dollars in cost that hasn't been disclosed or considered by the council in planning this particular event. So there we are. 2 questions. Is it going to be open to the public, open and transparent government? And secondly, has the additional cost of including Mr. Cossey been considered? Thank you.
If I recall from earlier this evening, the budget for the strategy session, thank you, is $15,000, and we're working with that budget. As to the strategy session being open to the public, seeing as a good portion of it is education of myself on council procedures, I'm going to request that that be something, the strategy session is closed to council members and people working for us and trying to inform council. Thank you. Another question.
Thank you. As now our 1-year anniversary as a resident in Harrison, and totally enjoying this community and all the events that we've put on. I do have just kind of a point on the reports to staff on G, and it also arose on J as well. It's to do with the what you talked about, enhancing the visitors' experiences, and that I think we have to, I just want to put this in the record that we have to focus on accessibility to our natural springs by looking at upgrading the public pool with some of this funding. And if we can't do any upgrades, we also have property that's up for sale right now up on the east sector that could be used to do something like I've seen in Europe, where you have huge sports centers where you could probably use our natural resources for outdoor springs, pools, plunge pools, hiking trails, camping, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering if the city has looked to some of this stuff and whether they can use that RIMI budget for that. It will benefit all of Harrison, the businesses, the city, and we talk about having a 4-season playground here. I think that's what we have to focus on with that RMI. My experience with open houses in the city that we came from, our community was very active in making sure that our open houses were places where the city didn't just bring a proposal and say, this is what's going to happen, ask for feedback and do nothing. I really hope that this is something that is going to be presented before major presentations from the city are going to happen for the residents, and that we're going to have more feedback on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement. I agree with you on the tremendous opportunities, and there's so many things to do. I was very encouraged to see the number of planning reports at an early stage, and if I understood correctly from staff, open houses and other venues for the public to give their ideas and their feedback, and we look forward to that very much so. And I have a motion to adjourn, seconded by.
Pardon me. We need to go to Zoom, or sorry, Yeah, to Zoom to confirm. I
Are there
apologize.
any, sorry about that. Zoom, questions from anyone participating remotely?
If there are any questions on Zoom, please use the raise your hand button. It doesn't appear that there's any questions, Your Worship.
Hearing none, Counselor Jackson moved to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Counselor Fascio. Any discussion? I'll put that to a vote. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.